Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven. This is Northwest Small Batch Brewing, and today I want to talk about the state of craft beer. So a little brew talk. So I have been hearing nonstop about how craft brewing is dying, homebrewing is dying. And I want to talk a little bit about that, what I've seen in the news, at least here in my home state of Oregon. So, first things first, we've got to separate craft brewing from home brewing. Two different things, right? Craft brewing is at a more macro level. Usually it's a business that you go to buy, craft beer, as opposed to making small amounts in your home compared to that, and brewing it yourself. So, let's start with craft brewing and why people are saying craft brewing is dying. I did a little research here, came up with a bunch of reasons. The first one was oversaturation, right? There's just too much competition. I see that here in the city where I live. There's, so many craft breweries that pop up. I don't think that the population can support that many, and so it's just a matter of time before some of them just don't make it. The rising cost of goods is another reason for the failure of breweries. Look, we've seen it in home brewing, right? I just did a video not long ago about the high cost of grain. The grain cost has probably increased by, 30%. I mean, that's a pretty big hike for a commercial brewery. And I'm not even talking about other products, hops and yeast and whatnot, right? How about labor costs? I mean, this is always an issue no matter what business you run, but labor is one of your highest costs in a business. The more employees you need, the more expensive it is to pay them, the more money you need to make, right? There's also another, maybe this is controversial, but another reason that came up was the younger generation, right? It's just not drinking. They're drinking other things, right? They're drinking seltzers, hard seltzers, like White Claw, or they're, using substances other than alcohol because it's now become legal, that sort of thing. So maybe there's fewer younger people. When I say younger, I do mean 21 plus in this country anyway. But maybe there's fewer people, coming of age that are drinking alcohol anymore. And then of course you have the stuff like dry January, right? Where, for health reasons, the health gurus are saying, take a month off and don't drink, it'll improve your health. And honestly, I think taking 1 month off is not going to improve your health unless you're doing a check-in. I think you can take a week off to check in and make sure you're not having any substance abuse issues. I'm not sure a month is necessary. But it definitely hurts the beer industry. Every January, you see a sudden quick switch to making non-alcoholic beers and different kinds of things that are non-alcoholic that are being sold by brewery, like local craft breweries, because they are not selling beer. Because there's a lot of people that do this dry January thing. All right. So the question is, just how many breweries are closing? Well, I looked, and in 2023, over 30 craft breweries just in my state alone closed for one reason or another. That's pretty significant. One interesting thing about one of them that it didn't close, but it made a smart choice, was Theuts Brewery. Even people who aren't from this area usually know Theuts. It's been around for almost as long as the oldest brewery here in Oregon. It's been around a long time, and they make some fantastic beer. But they had purchased a huge, like 50-acre or something plot of land in Virginia. And nobody really knows what they were going to do there. I had heard that they were going to do some experimental batches and things like that. But they shut it down and they sold it. They sold that land to Amazon. And the only reason they really gave was changes in the brewing industry. So we don't really know why they closed it down. But they made the smart decision, instead of expanding at a time when it might not have worked for them, they shut it down and they just are going to stay the line. So how can craft breweries and home craft brewing change to sort of fix this? Well, in my opinion, innovation. It's all about innovation. Listen, very few people are looking for dive bars anymore, or just a place where you can run in and get a beer and leave, and just, no one wants that atmosphere anymore. People are looking for Chuck E. Cheese-like environments. I'm not. I'm just saying, if you're running a business, you can't just sell beer. You need to have a beer garden. You need to have food. You need to have extra stuff, right? Well, one of the things that was really interesting is that you have to have a creative space. In other words, you can't just buy the corner, spot and put a brewery in there and expect people to show up. For example, I'm trying to remember the name of it. There's a craft brewery that just opened this year that purchased, I think in Milwaukee, the old Milwaukee City Hall building that was shut down. They purchased the City Hall building and turned it into a brewery. Innovation. Steeplejack is a new brewery that just purchased an old bank. I want to say it was a U.S. bank building. And not only did they use that, which again, innovation, it's an interesting place to go get a beer. They also sell coffee there. So they make like good coffee. And they're specializing in the less popular styles of beer. So there you go, innovation. Away Days is another brewery in Oregon that just opened. They purchased a 3-level building that has a giant beer garden and different floors. Again, innovation. And again, I'm telling you, location, like the style of the building matters now. If you haven't heard of it, there's a brewery called the Abbey by Monkless. They're out in Bend. They specialize in Belgians and have a community tap room. Now, they are not new, but they have been expanding, so they did expand this year. But community tap room, that's cool, right? Bring other breweries' beers to put on tap and sell at your brewery. I've been seeing that a lot lately, even in brew supply stores. Family fun centers. There's a place down south of here that has a huge, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's not an amusement park, but it's where you can go shopping. They call it a family fun center. There's a brewery that opened in there, and it's doing really well because, of course, everybody's going there for everything else as well. So themes. There's a brewery called I can't remember what it's called, but basically it made a 50s style diner type brewery. Another one is artworks. There's a brewery that does actual art shows in their brewery. Yeah. So the other thing I would say is like food trucks. A lot of breweries are making sure that there's spaces for food trucks. McMinimans that is been here forever in Portland, but they've known all along. Like their original space that they had was an old insane asylum hospital that they purchased, and they turned it into a brewery. There's a movie theater there. They have a whiskey tasting room. It's a huge space. It's called Edgefield. Look it up. But you can also rent rooms there, including the old rubber rooms. So there you go. Yeah, spaces, right? They have a place that's called the Kennedy School where they purchased an old like preparatory school and turned it into a brewery in a huge space. I think that it matters where your location is. For homebrew stores, you'll see a lot of them offering food now and beer on tap, and you won't just find homebrew stores anymore. They're only selling homebrew supplies because honestly, they need to make money, and they're not making money off of homebrew supplies, so they have to do other stuff. They'll have food trucks, all kinds of stuff. My local tap stores, right, or bottle shops. We have a lot of bottle shops here. Same thing. They have food trucks outside. They're selling beer on tap. They have food. It's not just going to pick up your beer anymore. And that's how they are innovating to find ways to stay alive and make money. Or sharing space with other breweries, right? Share your brewing space, and that can save you money. Anyway, I'm out of time. I hope that you find that interesting, insightful. I'm interested in the discussion in the comments about this, and I'll be back in another week with another video. And until then, support your local breweries and homebrew stores. Cheers.